What happens when a prince walks onto one of America's biggest talk shows and completely loses control? In just 36 seconds, a single comment would turn a friendly interview into the most shocking meltdown in late-night television history. Stephen Colbert sat behind his desk that evening, ready for what he thought would be another entertaining conversation. The audience was buzzing with excitement. Prince Harry was the guest everyone wanted to see. The camera started rolling, the lights came up bright, and Stephen smiled that welcoming smile he's famous for. "Please welcome Prince Harry," Stephen announced as the audience erupted in applause. Harry walked out onto the stage, waving casually to the crowd. He sat down in the guest chair, settling in like he owned the place. There was something different about his energy tonight. Something a bit too confident, a bit too relaxed in a way that didn't quite fit. "Your Royal Highness, thank you so much for being here," Stephen began, his voice warm and genuine. "We're thrilled to have you." Harry nodded, a slight smirk playing on his lips. "Well, I'm thrilled to be here, Stephen. Though I'm not sure your little show is quite what I'm used to." The audience laughed nervously. Stephen chuckled too, assuming it was a joke. "Well, we'll try our best to meet royal standards. Now, I wanted to ask you about your recent work with—" "Actually," Harry interrupted, holding up his hand. "Before we get into all that boring charity stuff, can we talk about something that actually matters?" Stephen's smile flickered for just a moment. "Sure, of course. What's on your mind?" "This set," Harry said, looking around with an exaggerated expression of disappointment. "It's a bit cheap, isn't it? I mean, I've been on actual quality programs before. This feels like a step down, if I'm being honest." The audience went quiet. You could feel the tension building in the room, like a storm cloud rolling in. Stephen kept his composure, his years of experience kicking in. "Well, we work with what we've got," Stephen replied, trying to keep things light. "But I think our audience appreciates the substance over the flash. Speaking of substance, your foundation has been doing incredible work with your audience." Harry cut in again, this time with a dismissive wave. "Yes, let's talk about them. Tell me, Stephen, do they actually understand half of what you're talking about? Because from where I'm sitting, this seems like quite the, how do I put this, kindly, unsophisticated crowd." The audience gasped. Some people shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Stephen's face changed. The smile was gone now, replaced with something more serious, more real. "I'm sorry," Stephen said, his voice firm but controlled. "Did you just insult my audience?" Harry leaned back in his chair, that smirk still plastered on his face. "I'm not insulting anyone, Stephen. I'm simply making an observation. You have to admit, the level of discourse on American television is rather low. It's all jokes and silly games. Where I come from, we have standards." "Where you come from?" Stephen repeated slowly, and you could hear the edge in his voice now. "Let me tell you something about where you come from and where you are right now. These people," he gestured to the audience, "these incredible people took time out of their lives to come here tonight. They're teachers, nurses, firefighters, parents, students. They're the backbone of this country, and you just called them unsophisticated." Harry rolled his eyes, actually rolled his eyes on live television. "Oh, please, don't get all patriotic on me, Stephen. I'm simply saying that in England, we have a certain level of what?" Stephen interrupted, and now his voice was rising. "Of entitlement? Because that's what I'm seeing right now. You came onto my show, insulted my set, insulted my audience, and now you're sitting there acting like you're doing us all a favor by being here." "I'm doing you a favor," Harry shot back, his voice getting louder too. "Do you have any idea how many shows wanted me? I chose to come here, Stephen. I gave you this opportunity, and this is how you repay me? By getting defensive over a few simple observations?" The audience was dead silent now. Everyone watching could feel this spiraling out of control. Stephen stood up from behind his desk. He never does that unless something serious is happening. "You gave me this opportunity?" Stephen's voice was incredulous. "Let me explain something to you. This show exists because of the relationship I have with my audience. These people, the ones you just disrespected, they're the reason we're on the air. Not because of guests like you, not because we book royalty or celebrities. Because we have real conversations with real people about things that actually matter." Harry stood up too, facing Stephen across the desk. "Real conversations? You call this real? This is a circus. Stephen, you're a clown performing for the masses. I thought coming here might be interesting, might be different. But it's exactly what I expected. Cheap, easy entertainment for cheap, easy people." The room exploded. The audience started booing. Some people were shouting. Steven's face was red now, not from embarrassment, but from genuine anger at watching someone disrespect the people he cares about most. Cheap, easy people? Steven's voice cut through the noise. These cheap, easy people are the ones who work 3 jobs to make ends meet, who volunteer at food banks on weekends, who show up for their communities every single day without a title, without a crown, without any expectation of special treatment. They're worth 10 of you. Harry's face twisted into something ugly. How dare you speak to me that way? Do you know who I am? Yes, Steven said, his voice suddenly calm but ice cold. You're someone who's forgotten that being born into privilege doesn't make you better than anyone else. You're someone who thinks a title means you can treat people however you want. And right now, you're someone who's not welcome on this stage anymore. Excuse me? Harry looked genuinely shocked, like the possibility of being rejected had never occurred to him. You heard me, Steven continued. This interview is over. I don't care what your publicist says. I don't care what our producers planned. I'm not going to sit here and let you disrespect these people for one more second. Harry laughed, but it was a harsh, bitter sound. You can't kick me off your show. Do you have any idea what kind of backlash you'll face? The press will destroy you for this. Let them, Steven said simply. I'd rather face whatever comes from standing up for what's right than sit here quietly while you insult good people. Now, you can leave on your own, or security can help you find the exit. Your choice. The audience started applauding, slowly at first, then building into something thunderous. They were standing now, cheering for Steven, showing their support in the most powerful way possible. Harry looked around at the crowd, his face cycling through emotions, disbelief, anger, and finally something that might have been embarrassment, but he wasn't backing down. Fine, Harry spat out. I don't need this. I don't need you, and I certainly don't need them. He pointed at the audience with contempt. Enjoy your little show, Steven. Enjoy pretending that what you do here matters. Meanwhile, I'll be on programs that actually have class, actually have dignity, actually have worth. Then go, Steven said quietly. Go find those programs. Because this one, this show, these people, we're about something you clearly don't understand. We're about respect, decency, and treating people like they matter, no matter who they are or where they come from. Harry turned to walk off the stage, but then he spun back around. You know what your problem is, Steven? You're too concerned with being liked, with being the good guy. In the real world, that makes you weak. Steven shook his head. No, in the real world, caring about people makes you strong. It makes you human. And I'd rather be weak in your eyes than lose that humanity. Now, please, leave my stage. But Harry wasn't done yet. He walked back toward the desk, his finger pointing at Steven. You talk about humanity. You make jokes about people like me every single night. You mock royalty. You mock tradition. You mock everything that represents order and structure in this world. And now you want to act like you're on some moral high ground? There's a difference, Steven said, standing his ground, between making jokes about people in power and attacking regular people who are just trying to live their lives. I've never once insulted my audience. I've never treated them as less than. That's a line I won't cross, and watching you cross it tonight makes me sick. Oh, spare me the righteous act, Harry sneered. You're just angry because I called out your mediocre little program for what it is. You built your entire career on being snarky and sarcastic, and the moment someone turns that back on you, you can't handle it. The audience was booing again, louder now. Someone shouted, "Get off the stage!" Others joined in. The energy in the room was electric, charged with anger and disbelief at what they were witnessing. Steven raised his hand, trying to quiet the crowd. Listen, everyone, please, let's not. But Harry cut him off again. See, you can't even control your own audience. Harry was shouting now, his face flushed. This is exactly what I'm talking about. No discipline, no respect, just chaos and noise. This is why America is. Don't you dare. Steven's voice was sharp as a knife. Don't you dare finish that sentence. You don't get to come into this country, onto this show, accept our hospitality, and then trash the entire nation. That's not criticism. That's not honest. Observation? That's just cruel. Harry's eyes were wild now. He'd gone too far and he knew it, but pride wouldn't let him back down. I'm a guest in this country, and this is how you treat guests? By attacking them? By humiliating them on national television? You humiliated yourself, Steven said. Every word out of your mouth tonight has been an insult. To me, to this show, to these people, to this country. I didn't attack you. I defended people who deserve defending. There's a massive difference. Defended them? Harry laughed again, that same bitter sound. You're using them, Stephen. You're using their outrage to make yourself look good, to make yourself the hero of this little drama. Well, congratulations. You got what you wanted, a viral moment. A clip that'll be everywhere by morning. I hope it's worth it. What's worth it, Stephen said slowly, deliberately, is knowing I didn't sit silently while someone treated people I care about with contempt. That's worth everything to me. Now, for the last time, please, leave. Harry stared at him for a long moment. The entire studio was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Security guards had appeared at the edge of the stage, ready to step in if needed. Finally, Harry turned away. But as he walked toward the exit, he couldn't resist one last jab. He stopped, looked back over his shoulder, and said, "You know, Stephen, I actually feel sorry for you. Sorry that this is the height of your achievement. Sorry that you peaked with a late-night show on a declining network. Sorry that when people remember you, this will be what they think of. Not your wit, not your intelligence, but the time you lost control and kicked off a prince." The silence that followed was deafening. Stephen stood there, his jaw tight, his hands gripping the edge of his desk. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but everyone heard every single word. "I hope they remember this," he said. "I hope they remember the time I stood up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. I hope they remember that when faced with cruelty and arrogance, I chose kindness and dignity. And I hope they remember that having a title doesn't make you a good person. Your actions do. Your words do. How you treat others does. And by that measure, Harry, you failed spectacularly tonight." Harry's face went pale. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Maybe regret, maybe shame, maybe just anger at being called out so publicly. But whatever it was disappeared quickly, replaced by cold fury. "We'll see who failed," Harry said. "We'll see whose career survives this." "I'm not worried about my career," Stephen replied. "I'm worried about what kind of person you've become, because the Harry I thought I knew, the Harry who did all that charity work you didn't want to discuss, the Harry who seemed to care about making a difference, he wouldn't have done this. He wouldn't have attacked innocent people just to feel superior. So either I was wrong about you from the start, or somewhere along the way, you lost yourself. And honestly, I don't know which is sadder." That hit something deep. You could see it in Harry's face, the way his expression crumbled just slightly before he rebuilt the wall of arrogance. "You don't know anything about me," Harry said, his voice shaking slightly. "You don't know what it's like to live under constant scrutiny, to have every move criticized, to never be able to just be yourself without someone judging you." "You're right," Stephen said, and his voice softened just a fraction. "I don't know what that's like, but I do know what it's like to be judged. I know what it's like to work hard and have people dismiss you. And I know what it's like to feel defensive and lash out at the wrong people. But here's the thing, Harry. Those people in this audience, they didn't put you under scrutiny. They didn't criticize you. They came here tonight excited to see you, ready to listen to what you had to say. And you repaid that by calling them unsophisticated, by calling them cheap and easy. They didn't deserve that. No matter what you're going through, they didn't deserve that." For a moment, just a brief moment, Harry looked like he might apologize. Like the human being underneath all that anger and entitlement might break through. But then he squared his shoulders and the moment passed. "I stand by everything I said," Harry declared. "Every word. This show is beneath me. This audience is beneath me. And frankly, Stephen, you're beneath me too. I came here as a favor, and this is what I get. Well, lesson learned. I won't make that mistake again." The audience erupted in boos again, but this time Stephen didn't try to quiet them. He let them express their feelings, let them show Harry exactly what they thought of his words. "Then, we're done here," Stephen said over the noise. "Goodbye, Harry. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I really do. Because right now, it seems like you're pretty lost." Harry's face twisted with rage. "Lost? I'm a prince. I have more purpose and direction than you could ever dream of." "Purpose and direction aren't about titles," Stephen shot back. "They're about how you treat people, how you use whatever platform you have. And tonight, you used yours to tear people down, to make yourself feel bigger by making others feel smaller. That's not purpose. That's not direction. That's just sad." "I don't have to listen to this," Harry said, but he wasn't moving toward the exit anymore. He was rooted to the spot, caught in this battle of words that had spiraled so far beyond what anyone expected. "No, you don't," Stephen agreed. "You can leave any time. That's what I've been telling you to do." But you keep standing there, keep arguing, keep trying to justify behavior that can't be justified. Why? What are you trying to prove? That you're better than us? That your title makes you superior? Because if that's what you're trying to prove, you're failing miserably. I don't have to prove anything to you, Harry shouted. His composure was completely gone now. The mask had slipped, and underneath was just raw anger and something that looked a lot like pain. Then why are you still here? Stephen asked, his voice almost gentle now. Why are you still fighting this? Just go, Harry. Walk away. We'll cut to commercial. You'll leave the building, and we'll all move on with our lives. But Harry couldn't let it go, because you don't get to win. You don't get to stand there acting superior when you're nothing but a late-night host making jokes for people too tired to change the channel. That last insult seemed to wake the audience up even more. People were on their feet, shouting now. Not just booing anymore, but actually yelling at Harry to leave, to get off the stage, to show some respect, or get out. Stephen held up both hands, trying to restore some order. Please, everyone, please. I appreciate your support, but let's not. He turned to Harry. This has gone on long enough. You need to leave. Now. Not in a minute, not after one more comment. Right now. Harry looked around at the sea of angry faces, at Stephen standing firm behind his desk, at the security guards moving closer. And finally, he seemed to realize that this wasn't going to end well for him if he stayed. Fine, he said, his voice dripping with venom. I'm leaving. But mark my words, Stephen, you'll regret this. You'll regret humiliating me on national television. You'll regret choosing these people over me. I'll never regret standing up for what's right, Stephen replied. Never. Harry turned and started walking toward the exit, his movements stiff and angry, but he couldn't resist one final parting shot. He stopped at the edge of the stage, turned back, and shouted, You're all beneath me, every single one of you. This country, this show, this pathetic excuse for entertainment. You're all beneath me, and you always will be. The audience went absolutely wild. The booing was so loud you could barely hear anything else. People were shouting. Some were even throwing their hands up in disbelief. This was unlike anything anyone had ever seen on a talk show before. Stephen waited for the noise to die down just enough so he could be heard. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, his voice steady despite everything, I apologize that you had to witness that. You came here for entertainment, for laughs, for a good time. And instead, you got that. But I want you to know something. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how you handled yourselves tonight. You showed more class and dignity in your response than our guest showed in his entire appearance. The audience applauded, the sound washing over the studio like a wave. Stephen smiled at them, a real genuine smile, and you could see the love and respect he had for these people written all over his face. Harry was still standing at the edge of the stage, watching this moment, watching Stephen connect with the audience in a way he never could. And maybe that's what really got to him. Maybe that's why he couldn't just leave quietly. Enjoy your moment, Harry called out. Enjoy your little love fest. But when the cameras turn off and everyone goes home, you'll still be nothing special, Stephen. You'll still be exactly what you've always been, ordinary. Stephen turned to face him one last time. You say ordinary like it's an insult, but you know what? I am ordinary. I'm just a guy who got lucky enough to have this job, to talk to interesting people, to make people laugh at the end of a long day. And I'm grateful for that ordinariness, because it means I'm connected to real life, to real people, to what actually matters. You should try it sometime. Being ordinary, being human, being someone who doesn't need a title to feel important. Those words hung in the air between them. Harry opened his mouth like he was going to respond, then closed it again. What could he say? How could he come back from that? He couldn't. So finally, after what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, Harry turned and walked off the stage. The audience watched him go, their boos following him all the way through the exit until he disappeared from view. Stephen stood there for a moment, just breathing, processing what had just happened. Then he looked at the camera and said, Well, that was unexpected. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I promise we'll try to get back to actual entertainment, the good kind, the kind that doesn't involve insulting wonderful people. We'll be right back. The camera cut away and the studio erupted in applause again. People were hugging each other, high-fiving, celebrating the fact that their host had stood up for them so powerfully. What started as an ordinary interview had turned into something nobody would ever forget, a moment where privilege crashed headfirst into principle, where entitlement met its match in simple human decency, where a prince learned that a crown doesn't make you royalty, but how you treat people does. And in those 36 seconds, when Harry made that first dismissive comment about the show being cheap, he set in motion a chain of events that would end with him being escorted off stage, his reputation in tatters, his arrogance fully exposed for the world to see. The studio audience that night witnessed something rare and powerful. They saw someone in a position of authority choose to protect them rather than impress a famous guest. They saw integrity in action. They saw that sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do. And they saw that no title, no amount of privilege, no royal blood can excuse treating other human beings with contempt and disrespect. That lesson, delivered so dramatically on that stage, resonated far beyond the walls of that television studio.